What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Icing the Puck. We are back, and we are a month into hockey in the new studio. I'm in the new studio. Moved into my new house. Got a bunch of stuff set up. It's going to look a little better here and probably as the episodes start to go along. But we're here. Been a busy weekend for me. Been a decent sports weekend. We always got to start off with that. Been a decent sports weekend. Texas Longhorns won. I'm chill with that, you know. My Texas Longhorns got a win. My Dallas Stars, I didn't even get to watch hockey. Apparently, we lost to Florida in a shootout. That's okay.
Yep.
That's great to know, I guess. And then we lost to the Lightning in overtime. So, congrats, Dallas. Way to start the month. 2 losses in Florida. Jordan, my man. Enough talking about me. How are you doing?
I am very good. I've been on the opposite spectrum, watching a lot of hockey this week. Also had a good sports weekend, but yeah, I mean, it's been a good week. I'm glad to be a month into hockey so far, and yeah, everything's looking good. It's been very interesting so far, so it's it's been pretty good.
Isn't it a bittersweet feeling? We're a month in, we've had a month of great hockey, but we're a month closer to the end of the season now.
Yeah, that's the only hard part is, yeah, it's the further into it we get, the closer it is to being over. But it's just started.
I've always been a glass half full guy myself, so
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I mean, it's been very good so far. I have been enjoying the season a lot. Yeah, lots of things happened, lots of really good games, and we've talked about it past couple episodes, but a very different start to the year than I'm used to.
True.
But I'm not disappointed. I actually really like it. Yeah, I got a lot going on all my screens right now. So if I'm looking around, that's why I have everything in a different spot. You're up top this time, and everything else is down here instead of the other way around.
This is a late night recording, y'all.
Yeah.
We're a little tired. Long weekend for your boy. You know, we're trying to get this together. But this year we've been surrounded with a lot of signings and extensions to start the year, and Jordan, man, seems like they never stop.
Mm-mm.
Every week it's a couple new guys getting some money in their bank account. I think we should start with Logan Cooley here. Logan Cooley, the young buck, man, he's 21 years old. He's got a new spanking 8-year, $80 million contract, $10 million a season. How about it, Utah Mammoth? Did they get their guy locked up? Is this their guy? Is he the man? Is he going to outdo the $10 million? What do you think? What's the grade on this one?
You know, I actually really liked kind of how Utah's put everything together. I think they've done a really good job so far this season, and they did a really good job this offseason. This is just another piece, locking up a good player that I think it's a good deal. 8 years. I mean, I know we're seeing all these 8-year deals. I'm not, and this is not even from the team's perspective. From a player perspective, I'm very curious why a lot of these guys are signing 8-year deals, but I guess they're just want to be more comfortable and like set and not have to worry about it and just focus on the hockey. I think the cap hit is good. $10 million a year is not crazy for this guy. I mean, hold on, let me pull up his stats here real quick.
He's got 8 goals right now.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I couldn't remember.
8 goals in 11 games.
I mean, I think that it's another critical piece for Utah and locking him down for 8 years at a good price when a lot of your top players right now on all these teams are getting that 10 to 12 range. I think 10 is a very solid number for him. I'd probably give it a right now. Curious to see how he holds up the rest of the season. If he can continue on this pace and keeps playing the way he's playing, it'll be an A+ contract for sure.
Yeah, I think he had 65 points last year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure somewhere around there at 20 years old. Pretty hot start. I think he was a second line player, sometimes mixing into the top line a little bit here and there. This year, he's been playing on that top line, you know, and he's looked pretty good, and he's a big key contributor to their power play as well. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give it an A as well. I think $10 million is going to be a super cheap price tag in the next couple of years. He is one of the key pieces on this Utah team. Like I just said, I mean, they're locking their guys up. I agree with you. What they're doing over there is in the next couple of years, it's like they're signing these younger guys. And after they've developed in a couple of years, is this team going to be a scary team that has cheap price tags that they could get other guys and maybe compete for a championship? You know, this team almost reminds me, it has some resemblance of Tampa Bay. when they were
Yeah.
building the core that they had when they were all very young. It took them a couple years, but then they got to the point where they're winning a couple of cups. I mean, I don't know if it's too far off to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it in the past how the way that their team is built is not necessarily on the back of like two or so like big name players. They have a very like all around solid team that it's kind of spread around. So you don't get guys on there that are getting like 80, 90 points every season or something like that, but you've got a bunch of guys that are getting like 50 to 60 points a season, which I think makes a big difference. And honestly, I mean, it's kind of the new way a lot of teams are building, which I mean, it could work out. I mean, I'm curious to see how those teams hold up in the playoffs because a lot of times those are the kind of guys on your team that make a big difference. You see a lot of the teams picking up kind of depth players that are, just kind of that do all the hard part, the dirty work of the game for the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, they're a really solid team, and I think they are pretty close, right on the edge there of being, and that'll be a little sneak peek for what we're talking about later in the episode. But yeah, I think they're right there, and I think this is another solid move on their part that just kind of helps that overall.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I'd take back maybe that Tampa comparison. I would almost compare them to Vegas before they added Jack Eichel, kind of a team filled with a bunch of different guys. And even when Eichel first got there, guys who could all contribute in a certain way, maybe not scoring a bunch of points, but getting the job done.
Wasn't it? What do they call them when they first became a team and they did the draft and everything like that? Didn't they call them like the Misfits or something like that?
Yeah, the Misfits. A couple of them are still there, like Wild Bill Carlson, Riley Smith, Kolazar.
Yeah,
some of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, these were all guys that were like sometimes second line, third line players that all got put together on one team and did really well. Obviously, they won a cup in their first 5 years, which is pretty crazy. Let's look about another signing. Well, I'll save the other one. I'll save the third one.
Big one for us.
Yeah. Another really interesting one, Thomas Harley. So the Dallas Stars signed Thomas Harley to an 8-year. What's the total on that? It's a 10.
I know it's about 10.6.
Yeah. It's a weird number because it's 84.6 total value. The total yearly cap hit is 10,508,000. So I read that the reason that they did that was so that he would be slotted in as number 4 overall paid defenseman. He was just above. I think who did he push out? Did he push out? Was it Bouchard I think he's like just over him.
Yeah, something like that, just over Bouchard, and well deserved over Bouchard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this contract. A solid B, and let me tell you why from the Stars fan perspective. Okay, because I watch a lot of hockey. I watch a lot of Stars hockey. I remember when Thomas Harley first became kind of a key figure here in Dallas. He was very exciting, the new guy on the block, and it was a lot of fun. You saw him, he would play sort of at the third pairing. It seemed like every time he was on the ice, he was just, golf club whacking pucks towards the net. And it was like, man, who is this young guy? Like, it was crazy. And then he got his first full season. And his first full season also happened to be Heiskanen getting hurt for a lot of the year as well. And he really filled in those shoes. And honestly, I would say that season over the last one earned him this contract. So 2 years ago, he really earned this contract. It was just a matter of when it was going to be given to him.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I give this a B is because Harley has just as much offensive output as guys like Bouchard, guys like Adam Fox. I won't put him on the Cale Makar level because nobody's on that level, but you kind of know what I'm getting at here. Yeah. The downsides of Thomas Harley, though, is that he doesn't lack too hard defensively. He doesn't really give up plays, but there's times where just things go haywire and he's not reacting the way that he should. I'm not going to say he's a bad defenseman because that's not true. We all know Thomas Harley is a good defenseman. This year, he's taking a lot of penalties, and there's not much to say other than he's taking a lot of penalties. So, is that going to continue or what?
That would be the only thing I would bring up is kind of the penalties. And I think that stems from kind of what you talked about, what you're saying there is like, I think it's more of a, like an inexperience thing. So as he plays more and more, that kind of thing will go down and it'll lessen. And then, um, yeah, I mean, I don't say it's like a major flaw or anything like that. I think it is just coming from, his inexperience and just kind of learning how the game,
I guess one thing I could add on real quick is that with the inexperienced side of it, he focuses more on the offensive side of his game to where it's a little harder for him to channel how good of the defensive side of his game is.
I get you.
With that, like the penalties can be cleaned up. That's a discipline thing. I'll chalk it up to everybody's getting used to Glenn Gullinson's system. It's people are saying how much longer can the Stars blame the new head coach thing. That's whatever. The team it's yet to be seen how consistent we could be. We have a lot of guys out, but we'll get into that later. Once again, I'm gonna give the contract a B. I give it a B because props to Jim Nill for being able to lock up all of our guys, and we have a lot of guys, which is great. But now, how are we going to fit in Robertson in the mix? Because his payday is coming up at the end of this year. And who are we going to have to let go? And who are we going to be able to keep? So we'll see. We're already lacking depth this year. Can we keep it going? I'll give it a B because it's a lot of money for a 24-year-old. But silver lining, he had 16 goals last year, 15 the year before. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 10 this year plus. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's a solid B, and yeah, I mean, I think that the thing with Dallas right now, and I mean, again, we can kind of talk about that in a little bit. Uh, I wouldn't like blame it on a coaching change. I think it's just, I mean, they're playing very differently. They're all playing a very different style of hockey, which again comes from the coach, but it's just going to take time to kind of get into the rhythm a little bit. So I mean. But yeah, I agree with it's a B, and I think this one will age really well. I think Thomas Harley is a very, very solid up and coming defensive player, and then his offensive side is a huge plus. He's kind of like you said, like Bouchard, but not a defensive liability. So, and just as he plays and matures, that'll level out and it'll look really good. Last major signing, there's a little we could talk about that happened on Friday. Jacob Markstrom signed 2 years, $6 million a year with New Jersey. Solid move by them, I think. He's a very big, like solid goalie. That he's a veteran. He's a veteran. Yeah, he's older, right? He's like in his 30s,
mid 30s.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a very solid. I think his biggest asset is his size. I think that's just a good signing for them. They have a really good goalie tandem right now, and I think that's a good move there. I mean, I'll give that one just quickly. I think that's an A signing. I think maybe B plus, maybe actually, just because he's his age, but it's only a 2-year. If this was like a 6-year deal and he was 35, I'd be really like, whoa. But 2 years is
I won't chime too hard into this one either. I'll go ahead and give it a B plus as well. Jacob Markstrom always been a good goalie. I think he was a little hyped up pretty hard when he was in Calgary and just couldn't win there. So when they traded him to New Jersey, I thought it was a great fit. I like what they've been able to do with both of these goalies. They re-signed Jake Allen last offseason, I believe, to a 4-year deal. He's also in his mid-30s. So now you get 2 veteran goalies with a younger team offensively. I just think it's a good mix there. Look at them to be winning a lot of games in the next couple years. I like it. Markstrom's a solid goalie. So
yeah, he just came back from injury, so I'm curious to see how he bounces back into it. But yeah, I think it's a solid move. But the big signing that we need to talk about, and me as a Colorado Avalanche fan, is a big deal. Artie Nichess signed a 8-year, $92 million contract. It's 11.5 million a year AAV. Huge signing, and I'm gonna be honest, I really like it. It's kind of right in the realm where that was speculated. Everybody thought it was going to be like 10.5 to 11, so 500,000 over. 500,000 over that. Not a crazy amount. It's the same. He's getting paid the same as similar to Mikko Rantanen, who,
very similar,
as we all know, was traded to Carolina in exchange for Nichess. And right now they're on pace. They're both pretty similar in points. I think this kind of puts to bed the whole uncertainty about this whole situation and solidifies that I think Colorado made a good move with the trade, and I think they made a good move with this signing. I might be kind of biased, but I'm going to give it an A plus. I think he's a solid player that will be, right now he's fitting in really well on the top line paired with McKinnon. They go crazy. They play very similar and they work really well together. The only issue I have with them together is OT. I don't know why they keep putting them on the same line at OT. They need to not do that anymore, but hey, I'm not the coach. I don't make those calls, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, no, I think it's a really good signing, and like I said, it kind of puts to rest the concerns that a lot of fans had. Was like, did we give up Rantanen and then we're not going to re-sign Natchez and we're going to lose both these players? So he said it in an interview. He's like, "This is my team." He's like, "I like it here. I found a home here." And yeah, it's a good signing in my opinion. Like I said, I'm probably biased, giving it an A plus, but I'll admit that. I'll admit that I am. But I think that's okay. What do you think?
Well, you're not the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche, and you
No.
are also not a media member of the Colorado Avalanche. And it's a good thing you aren't, because you'd be digging this team into a grave. I'm going to give this contract a B, and I'll tell you why. Marty Natchez is a great player, and he fits really, really well with Nathan McKinnon. Okay, and props to the Colorado Avalanche for not making a mistake once again and re-signing a good player. All right, a player that fits really well with their team. Okay, here's the reason I give this contract a B. Marty Natchez, young. A lot of people think he's an up-and-coming star in this league. I would agree. He's an up-and-coming, solid player in this league. I do not think Marty Natchez is a star player, and here's why, okay? He pairs very well with Nathan McKinnon. He surely could be a star player, but we'll see how that translates over to the playoffs, okay? The biggest concern that Carolina Hurricane fans had about this guy is that he completely goes ghost once it's postseason time, okay? Will it be the same in Colorado? I don't know. I'm not going to say anything about that, okay? But this is a lot of money, okay? It's not the $12 million that Mikko Rantanen got, which Mikko Rantanen fully deserves. We've seen the sample size of Mikko Rantanen for years, okay? Now, Natchez is a lot younger than Rantanen. I believe he's 3 or 4 years younger than Rantanen, but my thing is he just disappears in the playoffs, okay? And he's had one great season in the NHL, okay? And, you know, maybe I'm the one who doesn't know what he's seeing here because, yeah, I admit Natchez is a good player, but all these teams are signing players once they've seen a small sample size. So maybe this is just the new trend. In the point that I'm trying to make here is we see a lot of these guys that we haven't seen too much of, like Cooley or Natchez or a couple other guys getting signed to these deals. We've talked about it for like a month now, okay? Not all of these guys are going to succeed. It's given that some of these guys are going to slump, okay? And am I saying Natchez is going to slump? No, I'm not. I'm saying there is a chance. And I don't want there to be. Obviously, I want these guys to succeed. But one of us has to be critical on this show. One of us has to be critical. Usually it's you. I'm stepping into your shoes now, and I'm being the critical one.
I mean, I was trying to not be in this aspect, but
We reverse the rules. Uno reverse card.
Well, to be fair, I have the opposite opinion of that. I think part of the reason, and one of the things that I agree that people were worried about him in the playoffs, I think part of the reason that was like that is because he played for Carolina. He did not really play Carolina's style of hockey. He plays more like Colorado style of hockey.
That's true. That is 100% true.
And that is, I think, going to be a big difference. I mean, right now he's on pace for a career season. I know it's only a month in and, you know, it's kind of too early to say all this stuff, but he is on pace. So a full year with Colorado could be, you know, that could be all we need to see. But, and like you said, I agree with you that not all these contracts are going to work out, but that also means that guys like Mikko Rantanen could be the ones that slumped out too.
True.
You know, I mean, it's very possible.
True. That is
Again, I'll admit I'm biased because I'm an Avalanche fan. I think this is a better deal and a better move for Colorado than re-signing Rantanen and keeping Rantanen. Because I've said it a lot of times, he did not fit in Colorado. He was just a good enough player that it worked out. And I'll agree. I mean, overall, Mikko Rantanen is a better hockey player. But because Natchez fits better in Colorado, it will work out better for him there than it would ever with Mikko Rantanen. So, I mean, I'm not mad at any of the signings. I don't want to seem like I'm like salty on I'm not like
No.
I'm mad at Miko Rantanen or anything like that. I'm realistic in the sense that
Well,
that
so here's another
he's
thing that I
yeah.
want to add real quick, okay? Because I feel like I was a little harsh on Marty right there, okay? Marty Natchez is a great hockey player. Like, I'm not trying to say Marty Natchez is a bad player. It just like, and I feel like I talk about this a lot, and I might be a broken record here on this podcast, but how many points a year does Marty Natchez have to put up for this contract to work? And is it 70? Is it 80? Is it what is it? And it's the same. It's the same for Miko Ranson. I mean, I fully expect Miko Ranson to put up at least 80 points a season, or I will be pretty disappointed.
Yeah. Um,
And I think that's a fair number.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think a full season he'll be in the 90 plus point consistently. I think that if for like a full season, yeah, he should be around like the 90 point mark. And I think that he can comfortably do that. I mean, most of his and McKinnon's points come from each other. So
Yeah.
and Cale Makar.
McKinnon
I mean,
scores a lot of
it's
points.
those three. Yeah, exactly. So I know that you could say that he's going to be carried by McKinnon, but someone has to set him up. That's why people argue a lot about like assists and stuff like that, like counting as points and everything. But honestly, I will sometimes, and I'll make this argument, and I'm kind of whatever. I think assists are sometimes more important than goals. And I think that those represent a better metric for skill sometimes than goal, because sometimes a goal is just I touched it with my stick last. That's not, versus an assist of like you are the one that caused it to go in that direction and to that play that put it in the goal. So I mean, like I said, he's on track right now for a career season. If he keeps up this pace, he'll hit over 100 points, and I think that's all that really that I need to see as a fan and as a Colorado Avalanche fan and stuff like that, and just kind of I know, like I've said it a bunch already. I admit that I am biased in this opinion, but as long as I'm upfront about it, I think it's fine. Yeah, like I don't hate the signing. I think it's a good signing. I don't think it's too soon to sign him to that amount. I think he is worth it.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
And I mean, you either had to sign him at that amount or lose him, and I'd rather take that risk and hope it works out, because
For sure.
he's already been playing really well.
Well, you don't want to. Well, I think we can end this conversation off on a point we'll both agree on is you don't want to be stuck in the searching for the next Mikko Rantanen. Like the organization itself doesn't want to be stuck in that loop. Because it's like you tried the Jonathan Drouin thing, like you try like it was a failed experiment, like then you get Natchez and it works out a little bit, like. Or not more than a little bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. But like it works out really well. And it's like you don't want to keep thinking, like obviously the organization is thinking about the same things that I said, but they're confident in the way that he's started this season so strong, which he has and nobody can deny. So give him the money now. Don't get stuck in the loop. Don't disappoint the fans again. Just keep it going.
Yeah, and it was one of those things, is like they signed him to this now and they signed it early. I mean, he could go on and do even better than projected and have cost and been worth way more money. So I think it's good now to sign him to this amount that everybody's comfortable with. That is not an overpay, I don't think, and it's not too undervalued. And also, he signed a relatively a team-friendly deal that works out for everybody. Didn't have his agent screw him over and say that he wanted $14 million and get himself shipped off to another team. So yeah, I think it's a good move. And but I agree. I definitely see what your point about. There's potential that any of these deals fail, and that could be any. I mean, it could even be the guys that you sign for like $4 million on a like a third line kind of guy. You could sign them and then they don't do anything, and you're screwed that way. It all adds up over time. So, but again, as we get into this new kind of era where the cap starts going up more and more, this deal's going to seem, it's not $17 million,
Yeah.
That so far has not been working out. So, maybe that's where it is. I think I'm very curious to see where a lot of these guys end up in a year or 2 years time. And we'll revisit it and go back and talk about it and regrade a lot of these signings. That's a future episode.
Yeah. Like a year and a half from now. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll do it like trade deadline next season and kind of see where we're at. But yeah, all right.
We've
Time
talked
to get
enough
into
about these
the
players, man. Yeah.
yeah. Time to get into the real thing we're doing, the main thing we're doing this week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little different than just talking about their standings and the divisions and so forth. We kind of want to look at not, kind of a mix of what we talk about normally weekly and kind of our predictions, playoff predictions and things like that at the beginning of the season to see kind of how after this first month everything has worked out and has shaped up. So
This is once again, you could call this a way too early prediction in a sense, to where we're a month in, we've gotten an idea of what these teams kind of stand for, where these teams are going. Obviously, the NHL season is very unpredictable. Things change all the time. Every week, things are changing. But every month, we want to come to you and maybe give you an idea of what we're thinking, how the season might end up here. So we're going to tier these teams. Jordan, why don't you go ahead, pull up the list here, and we're going to put these teams in some position. Here we go. What do we got here? Read off these tiers. Let's see what we're working with.
Instead of your standard, S through F tier, we're going with teams that are cup contenders, teams that are a playoff threat. So maybe not necessarily probably a guaranteed lock as a contender team, but a serious team to make the playoffs and maybe make a run in the playoffs. We have a wild card ready teams. So those teams that are right on the edge or could potentially be wild card teams this year that are kind of going to be fighting at the end of the season for that position. The teams that are just missing out. So those teams that are right on the edge of making it to a wild card spot that are not fighting with the others, but are just like, they're not the worst teams, but they're not good enough to be a wild card team yet. And then the teams that should be worried. I was going to put in there should be worried or in rebuild mode, but I figured I'd just leave it as should be worried.
Should be worried is good.
Yeah.
Some of these teams, I don't even know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. So, I did put these in alphabetical order here. I don't know if we want to start that way or if we want to do divisions.
Yeah. I like alphabetical, man. Let's just wild card it. Let's just run with it.
All right. So our first team up, the Anaheim Ducks.
Love the throwback logos.
Yeah. Pulled up all these here. It took me a minute to get all of these to find good ones that I could use for all of this stuff. Once I got them all, I was like, I got to get the ones that I easily recognize. And not that I don't recognize all of them, but my favorite of all these alternate logos and potentially things like that. But the Anaheim Ducks.
Anaheim. Where do they sit right now in their division? Looks like they are number 1 in the Pacific Division right now with 15 points.
Yeah.
Been looking pretty good lately. Just had a nice win over the Devils at home. We're looking at a couple wins in a row here.
They're on a 3-game winning streak right now.
Wins over the Devils, wins over the Red Wings, and win over the Panthers here. This team is looking pretty good, Jordan. I don't know about you. I know where I'm putting them, but I don't know where you're putting them.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're playing really well. They are, like you said, kind of stringing these wins together, and they've been pretty good wins. I think they've had a couple overtime wins as well, but that's also, a win is a win at the end of the day. Right now, I think I'm going to put them in a wild card ready, in the wild card ready tier, because I think that I agree. They are good enough to make a wild card spot for sure. I think they're right on the edge of being a full playoff team, but I think they're just, I think once some of these other teams, these bigger teams get going and kind of find their rhythm, they'll drop back in the divisions. But I mean, I will be, if it's the opposite and they stay at the top of this division, I will be pleasantly surprised, and I'm okay with that. I'm a big Anaheim fan.
I'm going to say wild card ready as well, because I don't know how much of a threat this team could be in the playoffs. This team might be a first round exit, but it would be great for the fans, I think, if they even made it. It's the same thing that we said in our beginning of the year predictions.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Like I said, this is kind of a combination of what we talked about at the beginning before the season started, and just kind of going based on how we've seen so far in the season. So yeah, I think that's a solid position to be in for them. And it's a much better position they've been in than the past couple of years. So yeah. I think that's an overall win for that team. Next up, we got the Boston Bruins. So right now, the Boston Bruins are sitting fifth in their division with 14 points. They are 7-7-0 right now. This one's, I don't know if
A
it's
little tough.
difficult to say. It's kind of tough because historically they're a team that consistently makes playoffs and performs decent in playoffs. I mean, they've had a couple first round exits lately, but they're not looking the strongest this year. They're not the team from 3 years ago that, was it 3 years? Yeah, 3 years ago that set the record for the best record in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but you guys remember that year was a first round exit to Florida. So
yeah,
who went on to, go to the Cup 3 years in a row.
I have a bit of a strong opinion on this team here. One thing that really worries me about these guys is both of their goaltenders have below a 9 save percentage. That is not good for any team, especially when both of your guys can't even get into the 9s. It means they're not saving anything. But as I say that, the Bruins are on a 3-game winning streak right now. And sometimes they look kind of good, and sometimes they just don't look so good. But my heavy opinion here is that they should be worried. Swayman contract is not working out. All they really have is David Pastrnak. Arvidsson deal has worked out a little bit, but now you have Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm not really performing the best defensively as well. Nikita Zadorov is the best defenseman they have, and he's not even, I mean, he's big and he can sometimes get some goals, but I don't know. I just don't know the direction this team is going in. I don't even think their fans know the direction they're going in. I think Don Sweeney is a bad GM. I think they should be worried. They should be worried about this season. They should be worried about the future. I don't know. I don't know what you think, but...
No, I don't hate that opinion. I mean, I kind of agree that they are a little uncertain right now. And yeah, this kind of tier is not necessarily meaning that they are fire everybody and start over completely. It's kind of like you said, kind of uncertain. Like they should be worried about some of these contracts they have that they're not working out. I'm comfortable putting them there. I don't think that they are, I mean, I don't think that they're living up to what they should be right now. And I think that, yeah, I agree that means they should be worried because if they're not working out now, nothing's going to change. And then, in a year from now, when these contracts are just rolling to the next, it can be rough. Okay. So next one up is Buffalo Sabres. They are currently sitting 8th in the Atlantic Division with 13 points. I'm going to kind of say this early. This team should be worried, and they should be worried for the past 5 years. They might have kind of turned around a little bit and won some games here. They've won some games, but this team still does not look good. And looking at it from more than just their play perspective, the management of this team is terrible, and it has been terrible for years. So I don't know what's going to change unless they change something like that. So I think they should be worried about their future because currently they really don't have a future. They're just winning some games. I know you're a big Buffalo guy, so
I am. I'm the Buffalo spokesperson here on Icing the Puck, and that's what really pains me to say that I wish I could put you in just missing out, but you're not missing out. You're totally out of the picture. Let's be honest here. I agree with you. Management sucks. Management has pretty much always sucked for the past 10 years. A little different than Boston, though. It's not like the contracts aren't working out. They're getting a lot of work from these guys. Dahlin, Thompson, all the major faces there. The Zach Benson guy has kind of showed up. He's hurt now, but he's had a good season. Alex Tuck is great, but he's going to be an even greater trade asset come the deadline. So, it's, hate to say it, Buffalo, I try to ride with you, but you should be worried. Should be worried because it's not so much your players that stink, but it's your organization that stinks. I don't know what else to say, but that's just Buffalo.
Yeah, and kind of talk about this. So saying that putting these guys in the same tier, we're not comparing them directly to each other. We're kind of looking at all these teams independently against these different tiers and these different positions here. And so I'm not saying that Buffalo and Boston are on the same level right now. Like Boston is definitely a better team than Buffalo is, but kind of like you said, they should be worried about their futures.
Mm-hmm.
Just everybody that's looking at it, keep that in mind as we're talking about this. So it's not like,
yes, sir.
Okay. Man, we're getting off to a
yeah.
kind of a rough start for these couple teams here. So next up is the Calgary Flames, who are,
They're now tied as the worst team in the league.
yeah, they are sitting 8th in the Pacific with 8 points. They are 3-9-2. I think they kind of fit, honestly, they're kind of a mix of both of these teams right now. They have some bad management going on because of some bad contracts that were signed and some bad trades that were made.
Yeah.
But also, a lot of their players aren't producing, and that's hurting them a lot right now. So I think that they should be worried. And it seems like we're going on a streak here of teams that should be worried. But I think they really should be worried because they're going to, I think we've talked about it in the past couple episodes, like they need to go into full rebuild mode. They need to find a way to dump some of these contracts, or at least partially some of these contracts. Honestly, it might even just be they have to buy out some of these contracts and take the hit for a year or two and then be able to get them off of their out of their cap space and whatever. But it's rough for a team that was somewhat okay last year. I don't know what happened between, during the offseason that this team looks the way it does now. So I think they are a solid team that should be worried, like a solid, slotted in with should be worried.
Yeah. Somehow you look at this team, you got Jonathan Huberdeau, and I know everybody talks about him first when it comes to Calgary. Amazing player on Florida, 100-point player on Florida. Somehow you managed to make him look like a C-plus player, just not a good fit. I don't know how anybody wants to play there. It's probably freezing cold most of the year. That sucks. I just think that you look at the group, they're not having fun. They're not having fun. The stadium's falling apart. The management's just giving anybody money. This team, yeah, like you said, I don't really know what else to add. We don't have to stay on them for too long. They have to tear the wall down and they have to put up a new one. Paint and all. You have to let it dry.
Yeah.
They should be worried for sure. I think a head coaching change probably is coming too. I think a lot of stuff is coming to Calgary. A new stadium would be great for the fans. Yeah, they should be worried. They suck.
Yeah. All right. Next up is the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm going to let you start on this one because I'm curious what you think before I say what I think.
Yeah, currently sitting third here in the Metro. They're tied for third place with Columbus and New York. Once again, this was another standings episode. This has been a tighter division than we all thought. I don't think this team is bad. Obviously, they have 7 wins. That's pretty good. But some of their losses have still been losses that shouldn't have happened. I mean, you see some misplay situations, a little bit of sloppy hockey from this team. But I'm not going to overreact here. They're a playoff threat. I mean, they've made it to 3 straight ECFs. There's no other way to put it. They have an amazing roster, amazing depth, and they have a great coach. So they're a playoff threat. I see them going to another ECF. I'm not going to change my prediction on that.
Yeah, I agree. I was wondering if that's where you're going to go. I know a lot of people put them in there as a cup contender. I think they've had a kind of a lukewarm kind of start to the season, if you can describe it that way. Like they've had some wins that are really solid. They've played and looked really, really good. And then there's some other games where they started out good and then they just kind of got lazy and just couldn't finish out those games and they ended up losing them.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a couple games go to OT. That they did win those games, but they were games that should not have even made it to OT in the first place. They were up by multiple goals and lost the lead. And there's other games where they did the opposite, where they were down and then they came back and won it in OT or vice versa or whatever, won in a regulation that they should. So, they're definitely a playoff threat. And I think any team should be worried to play them in the playoffs. But I can't say that they're a solid 100% cup contender right now. I don't think that, I don't think they're in that position yet. So
I think Carolina is a good hockey team right now. I would love to see them expand on that and become a great hockey team come trade deadline.
Yeah. And honestly, I think as we go into this, I think this cup contender tier is going to be pretty difficult to get into. I think
there's only going to be a few. There's going to be a few.
Yeah. There's a couple teams in here that I think, it's going to be very slim. It's going to be very lonely up there lots of room up there in that cup contender slot. All right. Next up is the Chicago Blackhawks. I think this team is just missing out. I don't think they should be worried at all. They are building this team back up. It looks really solid. It's looked better and better every year in the past few years. I can kind of bounce back and forth right now, honestly, between just missing out and like being a wild card ready team. I think they're just going to miss out, though. I think they are going to be like one of the teams that's fighting for that. Like, they might need like 4 wins in a row at the end of the season to be able to be a wild card spot. That's not going to happen realistically. But the fact that they're that close, to contending for a wild card slot is a good sign for the team. So I think I can almost put them in a tier that's the complete opposite about should be worried of like, you're looking good. Like, hey, like trust the process thing. So right now though, I think they are just missing out.
I would agree with you, and this one's tough for me because I want to put them in wild card ready because some of these games, they are just so dang fun to watch, and Connor Bedard is so dang good. He is so good, and I think I expected that. I've always been a Connor Bedard fan. I was ready for him to break out, and he is so good, but like, there's a few pieces, guys, just a few pieces you need to add, and you're back in the playoffs probably next year. Let's be honest, next year. I could see it. I don't know. I would love to see Chicago be aggressive at the deadline and just maybe go for it. Maybe
They've
just switch
they've got
things
the
up.
room. They've got the cap space. They've got
Oh,
the
100%.
room.
But yeah, I agree. They're just missing out. If they, once again, just let me be aggressive and maybe I'll change my mind. So
yeah, I agree. I think that they are right now. I don't think they're in a position where they need to like go for broke and like all or nothing right now. They're definitely not in that spot, but they could definitely make a push really hard for a wild card spot. And if they make it, that'd be awesome. I would love to see the Blackhawks back in the playoffs. Yeah. That's awesome.
That'd be crazy.
All right. Next up is the Colorado Avalanche. I think this one's going to surprise you. I think they're a playoff threat. I don't think I can put them in cup contender right now. I think they're a very solid team. I really love this team, obviously. But there's some issues going on right now. One of them being their power play. It's not really working. They've made some changes recently that have looked a lot better. It's looked better as they've gone on. But there's a couple games where they have, choked it away or just kind of, they've kind of done the same as Carolina. Some of their games are really solid wins, and some of their games are losses are like, what did you do here? Like, how did this happen? I mean, I guess I say that they do only have one regulation loss. All the other ones are OT losses, and that's another issue is overtime. And kind of like I talked about earlier, stop putting McKinnon and Necas on the same line in OT. Mix it up. McKinnon and Nichushkin, I think, honestly, here's a line I think would be really good, and this is going to be a crazy...
The OT line.
The OT lines, this is going to be a crazy take, and I actually really, really like this setup, and I think it would be awesome. So this is your second OT kind of pairing right here. You have Necas, Colton, and Taves.
Wow.
I think that would be sick. I'm a big Ross Colton fan. I think since he's moved up to the second line, he's played. I mean, he played really well when he played on the first line last year. Sorry, I'm getting into. I can talk about the Avalanche all day, but I think they're a playoff threat. I think there's a couple things they need to work out, and they will be really solid. I think, and then I think. Let me
tell you something, man. You just don't want to get the famous Instagram comment directed towards you again. This is why you're saying this. All right.
You think I'm scared to put you think I'm scared to put them in cup contender?
I'm going to get the comment directed towards me because obviously I have more faith in your team than you do. The Avalanche are a full-fledged cup contender, more than over probably 20 of these teams. Okay. And because here's the thing, Avs have great management. They borderline have the best roster in the league. Okay, and they have some of the best star players in the whole league, dude. I don't know why you're not you're the most biased Abs fan ever, but you're putting them in playoff threat. You're trying to be a little more realistic tonight. I don't know what drugs you were taking before this episode, but the Avs are a clear-cut cup contender, and everybody knows it. The Avalanche have a very good chance at making it to the cup and possibly winning it this year. I mean, the talent is unreal, and you have a great head coach. Why not? Throw him in there. Just agree with me and throw him in there, okay? I don't want to have to argue with you about your own team.
I'll put him in there, and it doesn't come from me trying to be avoid the comments of or whatever. Because if I was being super biased about this, I think they're a cup contender every year. I think they should win. I think they deserve to win the cup every year. So I have to be a little. I have to dial it back a little bit. I honestly, I'm not saying that they're not a cup contender. Again, I'm not saying any of these playoff threat teams are not cup contenders. They're just like, they're not like solid, like they've got nothing going, like no problems going on right now. Versus like, I think Colorado has a couple issues that they need to work out in order to be 100% set and ready for the playoffs. Will they get there? And absolutely, they will fix these issues, and they will be fine.
They'll
I can
fix
honestly,
these issues, and moreover, they'll be fine. They're always fine.
Yeah. But anyway, okay. I mean, I'll put them there because you're so convincing. You're so convincing. I will put them in the cup contender slot. Okay, next up is the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think this is a wild card ready team.
I fully agree.
I think they have kind of proved what I said in our predictions. I think they looked pretty good, and they're right now they're in a wild card spot. I think they're actually
they're fourth in the Metro right now. They would be in a wild card spot. And let me tell you something. I was thinking about this. I was looking at the Eastern standings, and I was thinking about each of these teams in the East. And I'm like, man, I hate to say it, but this conference is fizzing out once again, and it's going back to where it was last year. A little more competitive for sure. But like, I look at some of these teams and how like bad some of them have been that I thought were going to be good. And I'm like, really, who is going to make the wild card in this Eastern Conference? Like, who is it? It's really a toss-up, and it's going to be a toss-up till the end of the year. But then when I watch Columbus play, they're just as fast as they were last year. Zach Werenski is a top 3 defenseman in the league. He's amazing, offensively and defensively. And guess what? Jet Greaves, Elvis Merzlikins, stepping up this year and consistently. I like Columbus. I think this is the year they slip into the playoffs finally and give these fans what they deserve, put themselves on the map.
Yeah. All right. I agree. I think they're a solid wild card team. Next up, Dallas Stars. You take this one. I took Colorado. I talked about Colorado first. You take this one.
I struggle with this one. Dallas has not played, I think, how all of the fans expected them to play. And when you make a lot of Western Conference finals in a row, there's high expectations. I was thinking, I saw them coming up here, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, we've been playing pretty bad. Do I want to put us in wild card ready? I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna put us in playoff threat, because one thing we know about Dallas is where there's a will, there's a way. This team has made it to multiple Western Conference finals. They're almost the Carolina of the West. They've proven themselves over the past couple years.
I cannot believe I just heard you say that. That's crazy.
Well, it sucks to say that, and I'm being kind of realistic here. But I'll always be realistic first, but as a biased Stars fan, my case to put them in playoff threat is come deadline. Jim Nill's one of the best, if not the best GM in the league. He's going to fill the holes that are missing. He's going to make sure this team coasts its way into the playoffs, into above a wild card spot. He's not going to let this organization very rarely embarrasses themselves, and you know that to be true. So I put them in playoff threat. I think come playoff time, they could win a series. And really, what else is a playoff threat other than a team that could win a series, Yeah.
I agree. I think they're a playoff threat. And my reasoning is a little bit different than yours. It's similar in that, in certain aspects. Dallas is always always a little bit of a rough start to every year. I think this year's a little more rough than normal just because they have so many injuries right now. And that's hurting them a lot. But they always have a kind of a rough start and level out after the first month or two, and then they start stacking the wins, and then they climb up this ladder. I mean, like at one point last year, they were like 10 points down on Colorado, and they climbed back up and won the entire division. So I mean,
yep,
it's every year they're in that spot, regardless of what happens at the beginning of the season. So 100%, I agree that they're a playoff threat. I think once they get everything figured out, they will be solid and a very scary team to play in any playoff round. So what is this like? us being opposites. Like you're defending my team and whatever. I'm defending your team.
I don't know what's going. It's a weird
It's
night.
opposite day. It's opposite
late.
day.
It's late.
The only thing, and this is unrelated to the kind of the playoff thing, we kind of talked about it with the signings. I think they should be a little worried in certain aspects of where they're going to get this money for some of these contracts coming up. But that's a later thing problem.
I'm worried.
Yeah,
I don't know what we're gonna do.
They don't belong in the should be worried tier because it's like just a couple players, but there's some,
you know what? I'm not
some...
worried. Where there's a will, there's a way. Jim Nil. Where there's a nil, there's a way, is what we should be saying.
All
right. Detroit Red Wings, wild card ready. I'm saying it. Jumping right into this one. Detroit has really surprised me. One of my most surprising teams this year. Things were not working out for them for a long time, and things are really working out for them this year. And I would, maybe just a little fun thing here, but I would love to see Detroit back in the playoffs. They belong in there. This fan base deserves that. I mean, this is one of the oldest franchises. It would be so cool to see him back. Cam Talbot, man, hell of a goalie. All right, and Dylan Larkin taking that step into great player status here.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I've been very surprised, pleasantly surprised by them this season so far. So I think they are a wild card ready team for sure, and only because I think some of the other teams in that division will turn it around and kind of figure it out later on in the season. Other than that, I would put them in a playoff threat, but I think they're only going to make a wild card spot because they're going to level out later on in the season. But yeah, I think that's a solid wild card spot right there.
Your favorite team.
Man, my favorite team here. Yeah,
your
my favorite team.
Where do you put your favorite team? The Edmonton Oilers right now sitting third place in the Pacific Division with 15 points. They have 6 wins, 4 losses, and 3 overtime losses. Where do you put the Edmonton Oilers, Jordan? I think we're going to disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to put them higher or lower than me? You think you're going to put them higher than me?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to put them as a playoff threat, just FYI.
Never mind. Never mind.
Only because Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and their offense. That's the only reason they're a playoff threat. I think in all other aspects, they are a wild card team at best.
You want to hear? I have a fun take. You want to hear it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Trade deadline, they're going to trade for Corey Perry and bring him back.
That's crazy. Why?
They're going to. He has 5 goals right now.
Okay, I mean, maybe. Why would you want to bring the Corey Perry curse back? Like, that's crazy.
But no, they didn't start the year with him.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Corey Perry has to make the cup every year. He has to. And he's not going to do it where he is. So he knows he's got to get out of there, bro. Okay? Yeah. It's either a Colorado or Edmonton ends up with this fella. I don't know. But
no, God, I would not want
Dallas.
Corey Perry.
Maybe he comes back to Dallas. Maybe he comes back to Dallas. I don't know.
Yeah.
Throw him up there in playoff threat.
Yeah, I think they're a playoff threat. I think if they fix I think defensively they can survive. I think they really need to fix their goaltending. If they fix their goaltending, they are a solid playoff threat. I think that they are still a playoff threat even without that, just because of their offense. We've seen what they can do. 2 of the best players in the league playing on their top 2 lines. Hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best offenses in the league. I'll admit that. I'm a hater. But I can admit that. This next one is going to be kind of controversial. The Florida Panthers, I think, are a wild card ready team right now. I know that's I think that's controversial. The 2-time back-to-back champion or, Stanley Cup champions. I don't know what they need to do to fix their team other than get their guys back and healthy. But if they continue at what they're looking like right now, they are not going to be in a solid playoff threat position. They are going to be a wild card team.
You're looking in the short term. I'm looking in the long term. I believe they're a playoff threat. Once they get everybody back, all the teams should be on notice. I don't know. I'm right in between.
Yeah, I'm also kind of looking at it from 2 different perspectives. Their divisional, their ranking, and how they are going to play in the playoffs. And I'm kind of weighing those 2 things together because I agree that they will be I can admit that they will be a threat in the playoffs. but I think that they will be in the playoffs in a wild card spot. I don't think they will be in a top 3 spot in their division at the end of the year. I think that they
Well,
are just going to end up.
then they're. It doesn't matter necessarily where they're going to end up, though.
Yeah.
Like they're a threat. We know they're gonna. I think we both
Yeah.
have like a
So
99%
I'll kind of
sure
back.
chance.
I'll kind of backtrack on that and say that they are going to be a playoff threat, but they are going to be a wild card position playoff threat, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's some
They're
issues
somewhere in
going on
between.
here.
They're somewhere in between.
Yeah,
They're somewhere in between.
they kind of fit in between both of these here. Yeah, I think the biggest issue is they need to get their guys healthy. That's their biggest problem right now. LA Kings, what do you think on them?
I think they are just missing out.
I 100%
think
agree.
This team has the potential to be a wild card team. The Kings, I feel like I gave them, like I feel like I hated on them a lot in our first couple episodes in our predictions. I don't hate the Kings, the team it's a good team. I'll say it's a good team, but some nights they're a bad team, and when they're bad, they're really bad. And I don't know. They're just this is another team. We're getting in the gray areas here because they're in the gray area of just missing out and wild card ready. Because part of me feels like Kopitar's last year, they might be aggressive at the trade deadline and try and go for a late season push. But that's to be seen. As of right now, I think they're just missing out and season might just fizzle out and die. I'm not too confident in the Kings. I don't know. Where do you like them?
So, I mean, I agree that I think that they are going. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say it. I think they should be worried because they've made playoffs for all these, multiple years in a row. And then they made these really crazy contract moves and acquisitions and stuff like that. And what's his name's last year, the way they're playing, I don't know what they're going to look like next year. Are they going to bounce back all of a sudden and be complete opposite and be a playoff team again? Or are they just going to keep declining? And I think that should worry this team. I think they're kind of in the same thing as Boston right now. And that's kind of who I would compare them to, So I don't necessarily think that there's some nights, like you said, there's some nights they look like a good team and they get a good win. And then there's other games where they just look like crap. But I think they need to, again, I'm kind of at this point now on this one looking a little long term too. It's like some of these contracts are not working out. We knew they weren't going to work out. And I don't know. I think they should be worried.
The more I think about it, I don't hate it. So they're in this weird area of the first, the bottom 3.
Yeah.
They could maybe make the wild card there, or they could just miss out on the playoffs, but then their future is a worry stance. I wouldn't mind if you threw them and should be worried. I'm going to let you decide where you would like to put them.
I'm going to put them there because I think that not necessarily from they're going to go into complete rebuild mode, but I think they should be worried about the future of this team right now. They need to make some changes, this season or during the off season and stuff like that. So I think they should be worried. And my closest comparison is going to be to Boston right now.
Boston.
They have some of these contracts that are not working out, that are not going to age well, and I think they're kind of in the middle there. All right. So we got the Montreal Canadiens. I think they are a solid wildcard ready team. I think that they have looked really, really good. I know they're top of their division right now, aren't they? Yeah, they're top of their division right now. They're just in second place. And actually, I'm gonna change it. I think they're a playoff threat.
I like it. Thank you for coming to my side.
Yeah, I think they're a playoff threat.
If there's any team that I have been riding with that the viewers know, I said I was a Buffalo guy, and that's my I like to ride with Buffalo. But really, I've been learning French is what I've been doing. I've been learning French. I've been eating poutine. Okay. I'm a Quebec guy. I'm a Montreal guy. I feel like I've never said a single negative thing about them this year. And I don't think I should start now. They're great. I could see them winning a playoff series in the East. I think they're a great team. They're just so fun. They're so fun. How could they not? They made the wild card last year. I think they've shown us that they've taken that next step. Here we are. The Montreal Canadiens. Was that good?
You just kind of said it with this sort of fake French accent, but
yeah, I don't know.
When you can come back and say it in actual French, then I'll grade you.
I'll practice.
Yeah, I agree. I think they've made some really good moves. Their signings have been really good. They have a good, solid core that is signed for long term. I think they're a playoff threat this year. They've looked really good in their games. I was not thinking clearly when I first said wild card ready team. I forgot that they were. I forgot. How
You weren't
they're how
familiar
they
with their
play.
game.
Exactly. Yes. All right. This might be a little. It might be a little rapid fire here coming up. We don't want to run too long talking about this because we can talk about this stuff
Yeah,
all day.
right.
But all right, Nashville Predators. What are you thinking?
Should be worried.
I 100% agree. They
I
are
don't think there's any
bit,
other spot to put this team in.
Yeah, they're a little bit better than last year, but they still look rough, and they should be worried about the long-term health or the long-term.
They should,
the long-term, build of this team. They should be worried long-term.
They should hire a sales team with how many pieces they're going to be selling at the deadline.
Mm-hmm. They're going to maybe they'll trade with their favorite trade partner, Colorado.
Stamkos to Vancouver. There's been rumbling. We'll just leave it at that. There's been rumbling.
Okay. New Jersey Devils. I think
Playoff threat.
I agree, 100%. Playoff threat. They went on a run at the beginning of the season. They've looked a little rough the past couple of games. They've lost like 3 of their last 4. I think that's what's his name. Markstrom getting his legs back underneath him and kind of getting used to the game again. Their loss to Colorado was pretty bad, but they also scored 4 goals in a row against Colorado and forced Colorado to have to score 4 more. So they've been on a really good hot streak. They won like 8 games in a row. Really solid team that I think will be a playoff threat for sure. I can see them.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Great goaltending, great depth, great star players. Jack Hughes is a superstar. Just leave it at that.
New York Islanders. I think they are a wild card ready team. What do you think? I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I think they're a wild card. I think they will be.
No.
You don't think they're going to make playoffs in a wild card spot? Or I guess maybe they could no. Actually, I was just missing out. I'll push them down to just missing out.
I had to bring you back down to earth there a little bit, fella. This is.
I got starstruck a little bit by what's his name. I'm sorry. I got a little distracted by.
I'll say this about the Islanders. Any of their losses, you're talking about Matthew Schaefer.
Yes, Matthew Schaefer. God, I forgot his name for a second there.
And I'll say this, like Matt Barzal looks good again this year. Bo Horvat looks good. Like they have their good players are playing good, but their not so good players aren't playing so good. I'm not going to put them in should be worried because the future is bright for this team, but they're just not talented enough to make it yet, and that's just the truth. They're just not talented enough.
Yeah, I was thinking of some of their games that I've seen, and they've looked solid.
Yeah.
Matthew Schaefer has looked really good. They will be a team that is a wild card ready team in the future. Right now, they are probably just going to miss out. I think I got a little blinded by the fact that their games are kind of interesting to watch now compared to what they were last year.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the New York Rangers. I think this is a team that should be worried. I am making a complete 180 on my predictions at the beginning of the year. I'm sorry, anybody that I said that Mike Sullivan was going to win the Coach of the Year award. Yeah, this team, they may be 5th in their division. I don't think that accurately reflects this team. I think they should be worried. I think some of their guys are just not doing it. It's just not working. I don't know.
Not.
No,
they're not.
And again, they're kind of in line with Boston and LA. They're in this position where, I mean, they could potentially, improve over the season, but then after that, like, what are you going to do? Like, that's just this season. Yeah. What about next season? What about the season after that? So I think they should be worried.
I would put them in a just be worried spot as well. It's unfortunate to put them there. I think they're also a gray area team. I think they're just missing out because they're performing well on some nights, not at home. They can't perform at home. It's impossible for some reason to play well in New York City. But yeah, they should be worried. Mike Sullivan's start of his tenure is not looking good, and a lot of the players don't look like they want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
Agree. Yeah.
The Ottawa Senators, I think they're solid. Like, I think that they are in that wild card ready team. I think they have looked good in some games. They've looked a little rough in some of their games. But I think that they will make a wild card spot, and I think they're probably going to be a first round exit. But I think they've looked decent enough to be a wild card spot.
I would agree. I mean, Brady Kachuk has been out, and that's been a blow for this team. You know, it's kind of sucked having your captain and kind of the heart and soul of that team be out. Once he comes back, it's going to be a completely different story. And I got to give them props for hanging in there as hard as they have while he's gone. They have a lot of good players. Stützle is playing good. Olmark has stepped it up a little bit. They're pretty solid defensively, and I like their coach, Travis Green. I think they can make the wild card.
Yeah. The Pittsburgh Penguins. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are a solid playoff threat this year. They have been playing like crazy. Their goaltending has been going crazy. Yeah, I'll admit it. This will be my week to admit it. I was completely wrong about the Penguins. I was unfamiliar with their game after a couple seasons of missing playoffs. So I think they're a solid playoff threat.
Are you ready for what I'm about to say?
Is this about to be a hot take?
I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are 2 trades away from being a cup contending team.
Whoa.
I think the Pittsburgh Penguins have completely shocked the world. And you know what? I know we said we're going rapid fire here. I want to add something. Here. I just got done watching the World Series. I just got done watching the former last place Toronto Blue Jays make it to first place in their division and make it to the World Series. Now, they didn't win, but they made it. Okay? I am ready to see the Pittsburgh Penguins blow people's minds with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang giving it one last go around the sun here. Okay? Now, these fellas, they ain't in it for the money. Okay? They ain't in it for the fame. These guys are in it for the game. Okay? And they're here to win. And right now, I don't see why you wouldn't say they can make it to a Stanley Cup. It's been 1 month. But this team looked like straight cheeks last year. Okay? And this year, okay, they look like toast. I mean, nice, buttery, flaky toast. Okay? I'm putting them in a cup contending spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I will give that to you.
Get another defenseman, get another depth forward.
Yeah. I will give that to you because you are so confident in your statement there. I will concede that one to you. I don't 100% agree with it, but I will allow it. So that's, yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, I would love to see Pittsburgh make a run in the playoffs again.
It's exciting.
Imagine these 2 teams right here. Stanley Cup final.
Crazy.
The old generation versus the new generation.
Crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That one threw me. As soon as you started talking, I was like, which way is he going to go with this? I did not expect that one. But hey, I'll take it. San Jose. I think San Jose is a solid just missing out team.
100%. I don't think there's much to say.
There is no reason for that team to be worried. They are doing everything right. They are building that team back up. That team is fun to watch. They have been able to sneak in some wins where they shouldn't have. Their biggest concern, I think, is goaltending is a little iffy, but it's not anything that they can't fix in the next couple of years when they will be a playoff team. So I think just missing out is perfect spot for them right now.
I agree. Only thing I'll add to that is if I was an NHL player, if there's any team I'd want to play for right now, it's the San Jose Sharks with how much fun they're having.
Cool. The Seattle Kraken, what do you think on them?
Wild card ready. I think this team has built a good team that could win. I think they've built a team that can compete. I don't know if they could get any farther.
Yeah, I agree. I think they were off to a really hot start. They've looked really good. They've been building the team really well. I would 100% agree that they are a wild card ready team. The Philadelphia Flyers here, I think that they belong in just missing out as well. I don't think that they should be worried about their team. I think that they have made some good moves. The team has been playing well together. I think they're right on the cusp there, but they are just going to be missing out this year.
Yeah, I'd like to see wild card next year, probably. I don't think this team would be aggressive at the deadline. I think they did a home run trade getting Zegras over there. He's focused on hockey. Rick Tocchet's a good coach for him. Yeah, I think they're just missing out as well. I don't want to get too zealous here. I think I got all that out of my system with Pittsburgh.
The St. Louis Blues. St. Louis, honestly, is kind of in that same realm as, I mean, they're not necessarily building their team up or whatever. They're just kind of there, in my opinion, right now. I think they are just going to miss out. I don't think they should be worried. I don't think there's any like detrimental wrong with this team. I think they just need to make some moves. I think they're just kind of stagnant, really. I mean, they made the playoffs last year, lost in the first round. I think that they snuck in there, for that wild card spot last year, but they do not look the same this year. But I don't think that they're like, again, I don't think there's any like dumpster or fire going on that they need to panic or anything like that. I think they're just
And
missing out.
what's so weird is like I fully agree with you, even though they only have 3 wins and they're at the bottom of
Yeah.
the central here. I don't think they should be worried. Jim Montgomery's a good coach. I don't know what's going on with this team. I think the group doesn't pair very well together. You might have to kind of maybe get some guys next year and fix this around. They're definitely not making playoffs, but we've seen crazier things before from the Blues. Their whole cup run was based off of being the underdog, so maybe that's what they want.
Yeah, yeah. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they had a very mediocre start to the season. They've kind of turned it around and managed to stay in there a little bit. They are now third in their division, tied with Ottawa, Boston. Really nowhere to put them right now. What do you think?
It's a gray area between wild card ready and playoff threat, because I look at this team and slow start, but now they're coming back to form. So they could make the wild card, but I could also see them making higher than the wild card now that they're healthy. If you let this team get in the playoffs and they don't play Florida in the first round, sky's the limit. I'll kind of let you decide where to put them between those two tiers. I like both. Yeah, I like both.
I think just based on their slow start and they're still kind of a little inconsistent in certain aspects, I think they should be in that wild card ready spot. I definitely think they could push and maybe get a full playoff spot, but as of right now, and just kind of thinking about this team, and I don't see anything happening drastically that's going to change them from a wild card spot, even though, like I said, they are sitting third right now. But I think some of the other teams that are below them or are tied with them are looking a little better. So,
Yeah.
and not even necessarily in their division alone. I mean, just in that Eastern Conference, I think there's some room there. But yeah, I think right now they're going to sit in wild card ready. Minnesota.
Just missing out.
Interesting. I know this is going to be, here's my, you ready for this one? Here's my crazy take right now. And this is my way too early to say this, way too, this is going to be a complete overreaction. I think they should be worried.
Whoa.
I think they made a huge mistake signing Kaprizov to a $17 million 8-year deal.
Boy.
That's crazy to say. It's been 1 month. When we originally talked about that deal, I was like, yeah, it'll grow and this will be kind of a large contract, but a medium contract that once the cap goes up. Yeah, this is rough right now. They are not looking great. And I think they should be worried for their future. But I agree that they are just going to miss out from a wild card spot. However, I think they've got some issues going on there that they should be worried about.
After the rest of these contracts came out, we can all agree based off of the market that Kaprizov was insanely overpaid. The Minnesota Wild were preparing for what contracts are going to look like 3 years down the line from now. I mean, they jumped the gun really early. Now, is Kaprizov a bad player? No. I mean, he leads the team with 16 points. He's pretty much the lifeline of this team. It's not his fault, and it's not him that they should be worried about. I think
I agree.
He's going to live up to the contract, but, it's where's the team going to go right now?
Yeah.
They're going a whole lot of nowhere. Once again, you put together this tier list. You're kind of the determining factor here for Minnesota. You brought them up. I don't know. I would put them in just missing out. I don't think they should be completely worried about their future fully. You have a couple good stars that you're building around. I mean, a lot of these teams that should be worried are in a way worse position. You can't deny that.
My reasoning for it is not necessarily their standings and their record by the end of the season. I think and again, I don't think Kaprizov is the problem with, I don't think the way he's playing, he's lived up to, I mean, he's been playing really well. Like you said, he's leading the team in points. I think they should be worried because I think they shot themselves in the foot long term, at least for the next 2 seasons or whatever, for their cap.
Yeah.
And they were hoping that they could survive with what they've got, but they need to make some moves in order to improve their team. But they have a $17 million. I mean, yeah, I guess, I mean, technically, I guess that starts next year, but they can't make any long-term moves, so they'd have to just get a bunch of rentals for this season
Yeah.
to make an improvement on there. But is that a wise move to make this rental to get a bunch of rentals and go all in for a cup when you're currently sitting second to last in your division?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think they should be a little
Yeah.
worried for that.
Yeah. Just throw him in. Just throw him in. Throw him in.
Okay, the Vancouver Canucks, they are sitting sixth in their division, just over Calgary and just over San Jose.
Yeah, I have this team just missing out. They have a lot of guys injured right now, maybe the most guys injured in the whole league out of any team. And, that sucks. I mean, you have all of your star guys out, and Kiefer Sherwood is holding this team together with some hat trick games. But, Vancouver, I feel like a couple weeks ago we got really hyped up over them. And then I started to, calm down a little bit and realize, Vancouver is always middle of the pack kind of team after a big playoff year a couple years back. I just don't see it. A lot of these teams are way better than them, especially if you're struggling in the Pacific, then you're struggling heavy, brother. I'll just keep it there.
Yeah, if you're just barely over San Jose right now in points,
Yeah.
that's a little rough. Yeah, I agree that I think they belong in that just missing out category. I think that the biggest issue has been injuries and just who's carrying the weight of the team right now. Yeah, it's just not looked that great for them at the beginning of the season. I think they're in for another year of missing the playoffs, and hopefully that they can build up and get their guys healthy again and change it around. But as of right now, I think they're just missing out. The Winnipeg Jets over here. The Winnipeg Jets, I think, are a cup contending team.
100%. I don't think there's any way around this. I think they have the best chemistry in the league of all four lines of all defensive pairings. Not that much talk about Connor Hellebuck this year. He just won the Hart Trophy last year. People seem to forget that he is a top 3 goalie in this league. And guess what? They're resting him a little more this year, getting him, ready for the playoffs. And they're still winning games. Mark Scheifele leads the league in points right now, too.
Yep.
I think they're great.
Yeah, I think they are a solid cup contender team right now. They've looked really, really good. They play really well together. They click. The chemistry is good. It's hard to look at them and think anything other than a potential cup winning team right there.
What's funny is this is a team that's had the same core for 6 years now, give or take a few guys. And it's like they haven't given up on it. A lot of teams would have given up at this point and, replaced a guy or two.
Yeah.
And they haven't, and they've gotten better each year.
Yeah. Yeah, they haven't made any drastic moves after some ups and downs in some of their seasons, but yeah, I think that they've held up really well, and I think that's paying off for them right now. All right. The Washington Capitals. I wanted really, really bad for this team to be a playoff threat. And I really, really bad wanted them to maybe be a wild card ready team. I think right now, they're just missing out.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
They started off kind of hot, and then had some issues with some games. Their goaltending all of a sudden kind of shifted. Logan Thompson is still second in the league in save percentage, but they've been losing some games and it's not been good. And their positioning right now is just not looking good for them.
And I don't think, Caps fans, I think you knew it was going to happen eventually, but Ovi's slowing down. I'm a big Ovi guy. I don't think we've talked about this that much on the podcast, but I'm a big Ovi fan. I love Ovi. Sometimes when the Stars and Capitals play, I don't really know who to cheer for. That's how much of an Ovi guy I am. But this is last season. He's 40 years old, man. Age comes at you. And I don't even think it's so much age. It's just, man, I think he's just ready to hang out, drink some beers, hang out with his kids, relax. And he's giving it one last go. We as fans appreciate that. But Tom Wilson's your next captain. That's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Here's to next year. But you shouldn't be worried. You have a bright future with good young players.
Yeah. It's crazy. I was thinking about it and I looked back. I was totally right, by the way, when I said when Ovechkin was going to beat the goal record, when he was going to get the goal record. Back in the OG episodes we recorded when we talked about the 2023 playoffs, I predicted that Ovi would get the goal record last season. And I was right. Just saying.
Has
I just wanted to point that out.
You were right. Has Ovi hit 900 yet?
No.
Oh my gosh, he's right there.
Yeah.
Big social media post coming, fellas, when he hits 900.
That'll be a big day. I'm going
to hit a cash grab on all y'all.
All right, let's finish up with these last three teams here. The Toronto Maple Leafs. I think right now, I think they're a wild card team right now. I think they're wild card ready.
I fully agree.
And I think it's kind of strange. I thought they would be a playoff threat, but they've looked a little rough. And I think that Mitch Marner leaving has hit them harder than anybody realized it was going to, or anybody thought it was going to.
Yeah, they've had to shuffle their card deck a little bit, is I think the best way to say it.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, this just kind of has been the Leafs' issue, and I think this year is just kind of pointing it out a little bit more, just at the beginning here.
Mm-hmm.
They've always been just kind of like, they've been a playoff team, and they've been, they've consistently made playoffs, but they just, I don't know, they just don't have it yet. They just don't have whatever it is that they need to be a playoff threat.
They never have it.
Yeah, I mean, and Maple Leafs fans, you guys are just the most. You guys believe it every year, and I'm sorry, sorry about the
fans.
Yeah, you're very passionate about your team, and you always.
I'm quite the Leafs fan myself.
Yeah, you always believe, you always believe, but it just never works out.
Oh my gosh!
All right, Utah Mammoth. This is going to be a controversial. I don't know if it's controversial. I think they're a playoff threat right now.
I don't like that.
I know. And I didn't think I would be saying that this season right now, but I think they're a playoff threat, man.
Can I give you my explanation as to why not?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Utah reminds me so much of Montreal last year.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way without going into detail. They remind me of Montreal last year.
Interesting. I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But does that, I mean, they just have looked really solid this year. They are doing way better than anybody predicted. Are you thinking that they're not going to be able to keep up this pace and they're going to drop down and level out?
Well, okay, so we're talking about the Central Division here. Okay, and I think you're losing sight of the three dogs. And by the end of the year, it's always those three who end up in the same spots. And it's a division that, like, you can usually predict. I mean, like, Dallas may be starting slow, but like you said, we start slow. And they usually, I mean, Dallas has loads of talent. Colorado, Cup contender. Winnipeg, Cup contender. So I want you to tell me right now, could Utah beat any of those three teams in a playoff series?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the other teams, like the teams we put up here, playoff threats. I think they're in the same boat right now as New Jersey. I think they look like that. I get what you're saying. You're saying based on where they play, that is what is holding them back right now. And I get that. But looking at it outside of that perspective, I think they look like New Jersey, and I think they look like Montreal this season. They are playing above expected, and they're playing solid. I mean, that's what I'm looking at it from. I agree with what you're saying of comparing them and playing against the teams that they are in the Central Division. But think about it this way. I mean, what if they get what if they get matched up against a Pacific team first?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I like that explanation. I would put them in playoff threat. I'm not trying to discount their play right now because they're playing incredible. So. And then there was one. The one that everybody hates. The team that nobody likes. I saw a thing that was talking about how the only fans who are happy about the Dodgers winning the World Series are Dodger fans, and what team in the NHL is like that when they win a cup or when they do well. Yeah,
and Vegas is definitely that team, which is unfortunate because I like Vegas. I hate Vegas, but I like Vegas. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because as a Dallas fan, like, I can't stand Vegas because, they usually have our number. It felt so good to beat them in the playoffs last year. But, like, I like their players. They're like this team that's like, what's funny is they're a team that so many people hate, but they're kind of humble. Like, they don't. Hold on a second. I know you're giving me crazy eyes. I'm talking about the team itself, not the fans. Okay,
Fair.
and
That's
not
fair.
how
That's fair.
people
That's fair.
like
I agree. I don't think that Vegas players are like over cocky. Like they're cocky and overconfident. I think they
the
understand
players, the coaching. The management. This is an organization that came in. They were gifted an organization. We know that. Like, but I think as a hockey fan, nobody can deny that they have put together this incredible organization in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
With that being
Fastest to ever do
said,
it.
they're a cup contending team.
Yeah.
All their players are great. A little worried about the goaltending, but guess what? This team finds itself in the mix every year, and with Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner, why not?
Yeah, I agree. They are a cup contending team for sure. Again, I've said it multiple times. I don't necessarily think they're going to have the best record or like the best. I don't know. I think that they are a solid team. I think that they're a President's Trophy contender as well as a cup contender. I think that they are going to have some games where they don't look great, but then all these other teams do. But at the end of the day, yeah, they're a solid team. They're built really well.
Mm-hmm.
If your biggest issue is goaltending and you have two decent goaltenders, I mean, historically you can win a cup with decent goaltending. It's about the guys in front of them at that point. But yeah,
for sure.
I definitely think they belong up there in that cup contender as well.
And who's to say Aiden Hill doesn't go back to cup form?
He could, absolutely, 100%.
So.
You never know. I'm very curious to see Carter Hart play.
Come
December.
Mm-hmm.
I think mid-December or sometime in December.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how he plays. He could turn that team, he could be what they needed and be the savior of their goaltending system. But yeah, I think this is a solid list. I know at the end there we kind of had to run through it a little bit quicker there just to save on time. I think that honestly
may have gone a little crazy with the Penguins, but we'll see. I feel weird only having one East team up there. I don't know, but that's just the way it shapes up.
Is this a Western Conference bias on our part? I don't know. We'll see.
I'm gonna say it. Feel like I'm cursing all of the hockey fans of the world by putting Florida outside of the cup contender window here. Watch them just three-peat and do it again. I don't think that they need to go there. I think that who's to say they're guys that are injured that are going to be coming back later in the season and for the playoffs are going to be ready. I mean, they could have a serious drop off from being out. You never know, Yeah.
So that could be an issue. And that's an uncertainty that makes them not a cup contender, in my opinion.
Yeah, true. Well, go ahead and give us your opinions on this list, everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to get lots of opinions on this one. This one is going to be a controversial episode.
Yeah, this is a fun one. And once again, we like to have fun on this show. We're having a little fun here. So, hey, man, it's been a blessing doing this with you for a month here, a month into the season. I can't wait to see what the next month brings us. I feel like things are just heating up. I can't wait for us to do the same list 2 more times this year. I could totally see it. I can totally see it.
You can compare it across to each other and see what changes. Yeah, I think that'll be very interesting to see. But yeah. All right. Let us know what you think about our rankings. I'm very curious to know what everybody thinks. I think we're going to get lots of strong opinions on these. But
that's for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us ramble about this, and a little bit of a longer episode than normal, but I think it's a good one here to listen to. But
fun little 1-month episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we always do this every once in a while. We're always like, we can get through this one, and we'll talk about this stuff, and then we just start talking about hockey, and we just get down the rabbit hole
it gets bad.
And all that stuff. But you know what? That's what everybody's here for. Everybody's here to listen to us talk about hockey. So There's nothing wrong with talking about
It may
hockey
be
longer.
almost 1 a.m., but this is what we do.
We're getting a little behind the scenes, letting the movie magic here, letting everybody know. So yeah, if anybody is wondering why we're maybe a little off, it's it's almost 1 a.m. here, but yeah, that's just how we are. We're talking about hockey till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
We're just built different that way. But
Yep.
yeah.
With that being said, that's enough hockey talk. I think it's time to go to bed.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for listening. Check us out on our socials. Check us out on YouTube. You will see lots of engagement, hopefully, on a lot of the clips we post from this episode. So I'm very curious to see everybody's opinions. I think that TikTok is going to go a little crazy on this one. You're going to get yelled at a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm prepared.
Yeah.
I'm prepared. Putting the boxing gloves on.
But yeah, this is our list, and I can't wait to see how it compares to later in the season.
Yes, sir. We will see y'all in a week. Adios.
See ya.